Welcome to the next lecture of our Selenium C# with SpecFlow series, and today we're going to see how we can run our Selenium C# with SpecFlow scenario in parallel execution. In our last video we saw how we can run our scenario in Selenium grid for single execution, and this time we are going to be making use of the same test to be running on parallel execution. So for doing that, we are actually going to modify a bit of our Selenium driver code so that it can be handled. As you can see in our earlier video while we were discussing, we actually hard-coded the Firefox option to run only on the Firefox browser. But if we want to run on two different browsers, let's say on Chrome and Firefox, we need to actually modify the code to handle that situation. So for doing that, we are actually going to create a browser options, which is going to look something like this. As you can see, this get browser option is going to have a Chrome option as well as the Edge Chrome option and the Safari option for us over here. And this particular code is also going to be called within our code on the setup method so that it can be setting the capability for us. And the code is going to look something like this. And as you can see, it is actually expecting the browser name for us as a parameter so that it can be passed over here. So it is done using a browser name parameter from setup method over here. And once we have made a small change for making our test run in parallel execution, we also need to modify our scenario to handle the parallel execution. So for doing the parallel execution, we are gonna slightly modify this particular scenario, something like this. As you can see in this particular scenario, we actually have a scenario outline, rather scenario, and we are using examples with scenario outline to perform the operation over here. And this particular scenario is going to execute the test for us on the Firefox browser. And then we also need to actually run another scenario for the Chrome browser. So we are just going to do another scenario as well over here. And this is for the Chrome browser. And we're going to modify that to the Chrome browsers. And the scenario is going to look something like this. So as you can imagine, now we have two scenarios in two different feature files so that they are ready for us to be executed in parallel. But of course, we have some issue over here because within our code on the browser step definition, we have to pass the setup method with the browser name as a parameter, which we are going to do using our table that we have. So we need to pass the table information using the dynamic of table dot create dynamic instance, and we're gonna add the tech.assist that we added as a reference in our earlier video, and we're gonna pass the name of the browser, something like this. So this way we have the browser name being passed over here. So now all the changes that we require to make is already available for us. So we can now try to execute this test and we can see how it actually works. But before, in order to execute this test to work in parallel, we also need to make a final change on our hook initialize, which will make our test to run in parallel scope, which is something available on the nunit as a feature to run the tests in parallel. So we are going to invoke the parallelizable attribute of the nunit framework, and we're going to set the parallel scope as fixtures so that it can run the test in parallel for us. These are the changes that we need to really make our test to run in parallel within our local machine, and we already have our Selenium grid to have all these capabilities to handle, as you can see over here. So we have two nodes running and they can handle these two capabilities for us, like Firefox and Chrome browsers, and we are going to be running these two tests right now. So we are going to be selecting both the test and then we are going to be running the test. So they both will run in parallel right now, as you can see, and they are opening two different browsers right now. One is on the Chrome and another one is on the Firefox. And you can see that both the test has got successfully completed and the test has got passed. So this way, we can run SpecFlow scenarios in parallel to execute the test execution in multiple different browsers using our Selenium Grid setup video.
In case you have any questions or you require any further information, you can chat with the team, or you can also drop us an email at support@lambdatest.com. We're here to help and we'd love to hear from you.
Subscribe to our channel to stay on top of exciting features on your way. Happy testing!